All right, here's your transformation test review. All right, I'm going to try to do as much as I can in one clip. So question 1 through 9 asks you to identify the following transformations. Let's review. First, we have a translation. That's a slide. Remember, that's just a slide. We have a reflection, which is a flip. We have a rotation, which is a turn. And we have a dilation, which is an enlargement or a shrink. Okay? Okay, question number 1. Okay, if you noticed, they had a drawing like this, and then all they did was they just kind of slid it over and down, so that was a slide. So that was A. Okay. Number 2, okay, if you noticed we had a triangle going this way, it was really a little longer, and then we had a triangle this way. This was a flip. If you fold it right here and fold it over, that would be a flip. So that would be B. Number 3, okay, if you notice you had an arrow, and they had 3 on this side and 1 on this one. Now, what a lot of people did was they thought that was a flip, okay, but if it was a flip, this side would have had 3 and this would have had 1. So it couldn't have been a flip. So what we did was we took a point right here and we rotated it around. So that was a rotation. Okay. Number 4, we started out with a figure that looked like this. And then just in a minute, we had it looking like this. So again, that was a rotation or a turn. Number 5, looked like we had a pentagon. And then just in a minute, we had another pentagon. This one was all shaded in. Okay, this would have been a slide. They just slid it from here down and over. So that would have been a slide. Number 6, we went from a large heart to a small one, so that was a dilation, which was D. 7, we had a quadrilateral, really a trapezoid. Okay. If we had folded it right here and flipped it, that would have been a flip, so that would have been B. Okay. Number 8, we had a small football, and then we had a larger one, so that was a dilation, which was D. Number 9, we started with a T-shaped here, and then we ended up with a T-shape here, so that would have been a rotation, okay, which would have been C. Okay, moving on. Number 10, it said to translate. I don't have graph paper, so we'll just have to do the best we can. It said translate the rectangle ABCD using the rule that you want to go right 8 and up 1. Okay, so down here was my quadrilateral ABCD. So you need to take each individual point. So you need to take point D. You want to move it 8 spots to the right. So we would have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now remember, you're counting the lines. I just didn't have graph paper here with me right at the time. And I'm going to go up 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be my new location for D. And I'm going to put that as D prime. Okay. And that point, I'm just going to write him over here. D prime should have been 6, 0. Okay. Now, you're going to do A the same way. You're going to go over right units, 8 units to the right, and 4 units up. So your A prime should have been the point 2, 0. B, you're going to move over 8 and up 4. So your B prime would have been 2, 2. And C would have been the same thing, over 8 units to the right and up 4. So my C prime would be 6, 2. Okay. Number 11. Again, translate triangle XYZ using the rule left 4 and up 1. We had our triangle here, X, Y, and Z. We want to count each individual point. We want to move it over left 4 and up 1. So my new points should have been -1, 5, -1, 2, and -3, 3. It should have been the new point location within my grid. Okay. Number 12, it says reflect the figure across the x-axis. Okay. Well, when I look, this point looks to be like 2, 2. This point was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. And then I had a 5, 3. I have a 3, 3. I have a 2, 5. So this was what my original L looked like, and it was shaded. For me to reflect it across the x-axis, first I have to know which one is the x-axis, which is this line. So what you're going to do is, you can either do two things. One, you can identify your points, and you're going to change your y value. So my new point for this one would be 2, -2. So there would be my first point. This was a 5, 2. So now it would be 5, -2. Okay, and I can continue doing that with all the points. Or I could go right underneath that point, back on the x-axis, and count up how many lines that I went. So I went 1, 2. Go back to the x-axis and go 2 in the opposite direction. So 1, 2. Here, 1, 2. Go back to my x-axis and go in the opposite direction. 1, 2. Okay, so when I get done, it should look like this as far as across the x-axis. Okay. Number 13, you want to take the L shape and go across your y-axis. Okay, here's my L. I want to reflect it across the y-axis. Again, you need to know which one is which. This is your y-axis. Now, you can do two different ways again. I could identify my point, which was 3, -1. And for me to reflect across the y-axis, my y is going to stay the same and my x would change. So my new point would be -3, -1. Or on the y-axis, I could count over. So I went 3 units to the right, go back to the y-axis, and I can go 3 units to the left. So if I did that, when I reflect across the y, that's what my figure would look like. All right. Number 16 says use a scale factor of 1/2 to dilate. Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to tell me what the points L, M, N, and O are. L is -2, +2. M looks to be 4, 4. N is 6, -2. And O is -2, -4. Okay. Now, because I want to have a scale factor of 1/2, you're going to take each one of these points here and multiply them by 1/2. And that's going to give you your new ordered pair. So here, I should have -1, 1. When I multiply these, I get 2, 2, 3, negative 1, negative 1, negative 2. Okay, that was 16. Okay, now you're going to graph these new points here, and so your original looks something like this. Your other one would be smaller on the inside of that. Okay, let's go back. I forgot number 14 and 15. When I scrolled down, I skipped them. So let's go back to 14 and 15. Okay, 14, you want to rotate 90 degrees clockwise. So I'm going to list my points A, B, C, D. Okay, my point A is negative 6, 2. My point B is negative 6, negative 6, 7. My C is negative 3, 7. And my D is negative 3, 2. Okay, that's the original points. Now, for me to go 90 degrees clockwise, we're going to flip these and change the sign of this second number. So it was negative, now I'm going to make it positive. So it was negative, now we're going to make it positive. Flip, change the sign of the second one. Flip, change the sign of the second one. Flip, change the sign of the second one. So here's my new points. I'm going to graph. That should have ended up, here's what your first one looked like. Your second one's going to look like this. All right, when you rotate it. Okay? So A, B, C, and then D. And these were all the little primes. Okay? Number 15, it asked you to graph those points. Then it wanted you to rotate it 180 degrees. So my points were 3, 5. So when I rotate it 180 degrees, it is now negative 3, negative 5. I have a 4, 4. So that becomes negative 4, negative 4. 3, 2, which becomes negative 3, negative 2. And I have 1, 3, which becomes negative 1, negative 3. So these are the new points that I would graph, and they should end up in quadrant 4. I'm sorry, quadrant 3. Quadrant 3. So the original is going to be up here somewhere. Here would be your 180 degree one. Okay, let's go back to 17 now. 17, okay, has a scale factor of 2. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to identify all my points. Okay, so A looked to be like 0, 3. B was 2, 1. C was 1, negative 1. And D looked to be negative 3, negative 3. Okay, now because I have a scale factor of 2, you're going to take each one of these and multiply it by 2. So 0 times 2 we know is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. There's your new point for A. B, 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. 2, negative 2. And negative 6, negative 6. Okay, so now your original was this. Your larger one would be around that. Okay, so here would be your figure of new points. Okay, all right, 18. It was a word problem. It says the length of the screen is 4 centimeters and her scale factor was 2.5. So all you're going to do is multiply. So 4 times 2.5 should have been 10 centimeters. That was number 18. Okay. 19 said you're going to move left 5 and down 5. Remember, left deals with my X. Down deals with my Y. When I move left, Okay, it means I'm going on the negative side, so that means I'm going to be subtracting 5. When I go down, I'm also going to be doing the subtract 5. So the rule that I want to use here is B. Okay, question number 20 says, which white triangle shows the black triangle would be translated right 4? So you're going to have to look at the black figure here, and you're going to have to move each piece to the right 4. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm perfectly on that point. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I'm only moving to the right. D is my only choice for that one. 21 says, which white triangle shows the black triangle reflected across the x-axis? Well, again, you have to know what the x-axis is. So it's going to be just folded across. So B would be your answer. Number 22, which white triangle shows where the black triangle would be translated left 3 and down 4? So I've got to go left 3, 1, 2, 3, and now down 4. So that point. So if I try another one, left 3, down 4. Left 3, down 4. So A would be the only translated figure. Okay. It says, what kind of transformation could be used from figure 1 to get to figure 2? Well, if you think about it, here's my y-axis, and each one of these is 1 point away from the y-axis. These are 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this looks to be a perfect reflection across the y-axis. It says, which figure do you get if you rotate figure 2 180 degrees around point O? Well, let's think of this point. This point here is 1, 1. So 180 degrees would be negative 1, negative 1. So negative 1, negative 1. Here, this point is 3, 1. If I switch it to 180 degrees clockwise, it would be negative 3, negative 1. Right there. So 4 is the figure that is rotated 180 degrees. Which figure can you get by translating figure 3? That means we're just going to slide it. Well, it's got to be the same exact shape, so that would have to be figure 1. So suppose you want to dilate figure 2 to get to figure 3. Okay, what is the dilation point? So you need to find this point here, and you need to find this point here. So on 26, my original point was 1, 1. My new point is 3, 3. So what do I multiply? It's an enlargement, so I know I have to multiply by a whole number. So what am I going to multiply by? Both numbers have to be the same to get 3 and 3. Well, I'm going to multiply by 3. Now, I'm going to check this a second point. So the point to the right bottom corner was 3, 1. And on 5, it is 9, 3. So again, if I multiplied both of these by 3, okay, I'm going to get that correct answer. So C is what the scale factor would be for that one. Okay, number 27. Point K is located at 2, 3. It says I want to translate that 4 units to the left, so that means you're going to subtract 4. And we're going to go down 3, which means you're going to subtract. So you're going to take this point here, and you're going to take this point here. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So my new point there, okay, would have been A. Okay, another way for me to have done that is for me to actually draw my graph, put a point on where 2, 3 was, move it by going down 4 and back over 3, and I would have found that my point was still negative 2, 0. Okay. 28. It gave me an original problem of 4, 1. And it said the new problem was negative 3, 4. So it needed to know what did I do? 4, okay? And I need to end up at negative 3. So if you look at your graph, okay, if we plot the point 4, 1, and I want to end up at negative 3, 4, let me make this line on the line. I did that very carelessly. Okay. So that was 4, 1. And now I'm going to look at negative 3, 4. Okay. I need to know how I'm going to move. So I'm going to move from this line here all the way over to this one. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm moving 7 to the left, so that tells me I'm going to be subtracting 7. So 7 to the left. And I'm here. How many down? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm sorry, that was 3 positive 4. I went 3 negative 4. So I'm here. I'm going up. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going 3 up, which means that's a plus 3. Okay. So when I look at my choices, move 7 units left and 3 units up. That was perfect. So that was A. Okay. Number 29, it says which is most likely the type of transformation going from figure 1 to figure 2. Well, when you look, come back down. When you look here, it really doesn't matter which one you call figure 1, figure 2 right now. But if you look at this one, I'm only 1 unit away. So if I was going to reflect across the y-axis, I would only be 1 point, and that's not where my point is. So it cannot be a reflection. Okay, is it a translation? Can I slide it? Yes, it looks like I just slid him over into quadrant 2. It's not a rotation about the origin because it would be at a closer still, okay, to my x-axis when I rotate. And then it cannot be a reflection across the x-axis because here's my x-axis, so it would have been down here had it been that. So B is your only choice. Number 30, we want to rotate that 180 degrees. Well, because I'm in quadrant 2, if I rotate 180 degrees, I'd be in quadrant 4. The only one in quadrant 4 is B. Okay. Triangle PRY is reflected across the y-axis. Which of the following shows this? Now, remember, you got to know what the y-axis is. Here's your x. Here's your y. Well, this one was reflected across the x, so it's out. This was across a y, this was across a y, and this was in a y. Now, we have to make sure that they're the same distance when I flip. Well, when you look here, if you can kind of tell, it looks like you're 1 dot away. Well, when I flip, I'm 1 dot there. But when I go up here and look, this one's quite a distance away from y, so that would have to been over here somewhere. So it can't be B. C looks good. 1, 1, several, several. Okay, so that looks good across the y. They look equal distance away. This one does not. It looks like it was a rotation around this point here. They just kind of set it up on its end. So which one reflected across the y-axis? That would be C.